Hello and welcome to Desperate Dave's Distractions. I'm Desperate Dave and this is Mr. Woo, one of my flatmates. It's day 46 of lockdown and the last few mornings I've been distracting myself by listening to Bez's breakfast blethers. So today I thought I would do a bit of a blether about Bez. And if you don't know what blethering is about, you'll soon find out. It means to talk at length in a sort of slightly rambling way as a stream of consciousness. So I'll blether about Bez and her games. I first met Bez at a playtest event. In fact, my first ever Playtest UK event, which she was hosting in her home, where we playtested In a Bind, amongst other things. Now, In a Bind is a game that she designed, subsequently went on to Kickstart. Lovely game, beautifully illustrated with cards which tell you what to do with it, like this card on the top of your head. And you put these cards on yourself until they fall off and you lose the game. We really should play that at some stage, Mr. Woo. Yeah. So In a Bind was subsequently picked up by Gigamic and published as Yogi, which has been phenomenally successful worldwide, sold hundreds of thousands of copies around the globe, translated into at least 17 languages. So well done, Bez. Congratulations. She went on to kickstart Wibble, which is a game system. Lots of different games, mini games you can play with the same deck of cards. These cards in Wibble in Wibble have pairs of letters on, and you can combine them together to make words like that. Now, I really like game systems because I designed a game system myself called Collider Cards, where you have a deck of 100 cards, and each card has a word on it, which is the name of a colour, and the word is written on a colour background and written in a different colour font. And you can again play lots of mini games like that. And since Bez is really keen on the colour red, she's famous for always wearing red, we thought we would dress up in red for this particular distraction. And in fact, all the cards behind me, they all feature red in one way or another. Where were we? Back to Wibble. As well as Wibble, she also launched Wibble Plus Plus, which is the same deck but with different artwork and more mini games. And nice thing about this is the box of the lid of the box you can use as a hat, Mr. Woo. There we go. And so the cards there, they are lovely, beautifully illustrated, and you can make words like Bez out of that. What else has she done? Well, she produced a Kickstarter called Kitty Cataclysm recently, which is about kitties and cats and cataclysms. The name may be a bit of a clue there. Fantastic little Kickstarter. I'd show you a copy because I did back it on Kickstarter, but I can't find it. In fact, I'm not sure if I ever did get a copy. Maybe Bez was going to give me one, or I forgot to collect it or something. Who knows? Anyway, that reminds me, she's doing a Kickstarter at this very moment in time, and it's called Cat Stickers. And for just £2 or £3 you can get a set of a dozen or so cat stickers, beautifully illustrated, and they've got funny puns, perfect puns, which should amuse you, all about catastrophic things and the like. So that goes on, finishes later today, so if you're watching this as I do it, then hopefully you'll be able to back that. What else has she done? Plus is a game, a little game like this, the symbol of a plus symbol, that's the name, so it's going to be a really short name for a game, really tight little game. Looking forward to that coming out on Kickstarter. But what I think she's going to be most famous for is her Blether game, which has the longest name of a game ever. And so to finish off, I thought I would just tell Mr. Woo the name of the game. So this is Blether. This is Blether. And would you mind, every time we come across the name of somebody that we know or a place we've been, would you like to click this nice little red bowl in front of me and make a good ding sound? Thank you. Okay, so Blether. A game wherein you blether, a Scottish word meaning to talk at length at a fast rate without necessarily making very much sense, using as many word cards as possible as you spout a stream of consciousness, trying to finish before the time runs out, keeping those cards that you used and discarding those you did not, with 5 cards being apportioned between 2 bletherers, each turn to denote their relative merit, with more cards being collected and making the game increasingly difficult for everyone involved as the bletherers get more and more furious, and the game culminates in a final blether-off way in the 2 players with the most cards blether, and everyone else distributes their entire deck amongst the finalists. Mainly designed by Bez Shariri, and originally inspired by a short list of long tabletop game names, with an associated competition to find the longest game name, which Bez willfully misinterpreted as a challenge to create that game with the longest name. That would be some time before a suitable game would be invented. first conceived, imagined and discussed with the lovely JP Treen in summer 2015 after a sweaty day out in the steamy park, as we realised that simply using plenty of words might make sense of a ridiculously long title. Mocked up and tried with Robin Harris, founder of Playtest UK, and Mike Abigi, who both said it could be a hit. Talking with others I respect, such as Ben Newman, whom I usually call American Ben due to his nationality, briefly shown to Andy Hopwood, along with Heather Ramsden, when each card still only had one word, during a party in Birmingham that was celebrating the launch of my first published game, In a Bind, now better known as Yogi. Had its name influenced by Dan during a playtesting session with Daniel Barker, Gwen Mott and Leo Marshall, when Dan declared that blethering should be pointed out as a key factor, commented upon by the smart, intelligent, analytical David Brain, who hates this sort of game but is still willing to play and critique them. Paul Mansfield and various others at various occasions in the Royal Festival Hall during the regular daytime playtests that we organised. Enjoyed by friends Gotche Balkan, with whom I now live, to his fam, with whom I found an intense bond before she wanted to leave my life, an event I still don't understand, and Gerard Mousset, whom I miss and should get back in touch with. By a tree on a sunny day, and the idea of dedicated topic cards to guide the Blethers was born. Before we improvised music with each other, mutated into having individual decks for each player for simplicity of bookkeeping. A difficult decision, given that it would massively increase the production cost, was shared with wonderful friends Kieran Symington and Jennifer Witt, who turned out to be a natural bletherer, at their new home. Was stuck to as part of a business plan wherein Bears decided that there should be a new game every year, and this would be the game to kickstart in 2017, although the plans for its actual release would later change. Tested by peers Hugh Ban the Paper Parrots Simpson, Konrad Borowiecki, Vicky Dalton and Ian Vincent, who presented a great idea for the finale, allowing everyone to distribute their entire deck after a final blether-off, turning it into a communal voting system and making the victor the People's Champion! At Alan and Charlie Paul's Designer Day, shown to Andrew Harmon, Andy Yangu and Dave Cousins, who, though it wasn't their usual kind of game, couldn't help but laugh. At one of the playtest evenings in Enfield, had the rules read out through by Henry Weston, John Brieger and Ben Walker in a pub on a Monday evening to test their ability to convey information. Was then further blind tested by William T.F. Miles and Brad Torres, who is super awesome at editing and suggesting rulebook tweaks. Was shown at Dragon Days via blind testing and played first by Mike Morelli, Liam Bean and Barta Borowiecka, who unfortunately was given the false impression that it was meant to be a storytelling game, instigating my arguably excessive use of the words blether, bletherer and blethering to distinguish this from such games and set correct expectations. And then by the enthusiastic Mia Itagul, Dr. Mike Reddy and his daughter Hester Jones Reddy, who struggled slightly with some of the words as she was still only 9 years old, was laughed at, marvelled at and discussed by Mark Cook, Andy Sherin, Director Gilbert, who suggested instructions and turn marker card, removed the confrontation deck that used to exist, and Sarah Kennington, who suggested a Kickstarter for an audiobook version of the comprehensive rules, as my verbosity used to spill into the rules, at a fun industry event. Was blind tested, implementing Brett's rule by Mike Nudd, Fabio Lopiani and Giovanni Poetti at the Jugged Hare on Vauxhall Bridge Road, where we playtest our games twice a month. Had some feedback thrown into the mix by Jen Freeman, Mark McKinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame, and Ian Brocklebank, who instigated the 2 words per side, not just one, at Aircon 3. The best convention I've ever been at, although I am biased thanks to an event that birthed my In a Big Bind. A giant version of my early game, involving even more ridiculous challenges, was heartily enjoyed by Patrick Burke, Karen Davis, Hugh, now impartial regarding Paper Parrots, Simpson, at a housewarming, was tested at another Sunday Jugged Hare playtest meetup by Brieger, Ibiji, Greg Soldier, Just Dantuma, and Dave Weatherall, who suggested that the topics be put into the word cards rather than into a separate deck, so that there could be hundreds of topics rather than just 16 or so. An idea that I was then almost certain would be overly graphically busy. Had some graphical experimentation done, as I thought that maybe this might just work. Was then taken to Glasgow Games Festival, run by Nick Pittman, with a quick set of 300-something illustrations, and entertained Evangelos, Maria Anapeliototi, and Roy Shearer, joyous drummer, the subsequently flatteringly charming hosts of Meeples Anonymous, Ross Bingham, Kaylee Bingham, Steesh and G, who later amazed me with his magical sleight of hand, Mitch McKay, Fee, Neil, Bowser, Milne, Justin Jones, who suggested that cards be put to the back rather than ever given up on, and discarded and essentially finalising the rules of the game. Was taken to Dragon Meet 2016, now focus testing, to determine whether a sand timer might be a worthy inclusion, and enjoyed, essentially in its final form, by Gotchi, my wonderful friend, helping me demo In a Bind. along with general convention goers such as Max MacDonald, Stelio Petaris, Matthew, Josh, Justine, who generously gave me very tasty frozen strawberry treats, Jason Hodgson, Sanchez Sharma, a cute, adorable puppy person, Hannah Ward, Steffi Van Essen, and Adam the Watcher, who all heartily enjoyed it and agreed that the Sandhammer wouldn't be worth the cost. Was played for the first time entirely for pleasure around the turn of the year at a shindig by Bowser, Paris and Brun, was showcased one night at Peter Blenken's office, whilst Angie Han, Nick Smith, Andrew Last Blast Edison, Kate Brown and Hugh, no mention of Paper Parrots. Simpson enjoyed a few games of it. Was heartily enjoyed by Oscar, Ollie and Eleanor at London Anime Gaming Convention, whilst Chris watched on and suggested lewd additions. Was shared with friends Danny Parker, Lynn Parker, Alex Pass, Edmund Kapusniak, Mona Bosdog and Gary, and had more ideas for topics suggested when Bez visited Dundee for a reunion after 6 years' absence. Was showcased at Geek Retreat and specially enjoyed by Connor Moir, Daniel Espinoza and Billy Spalding. Was shown off at a preview party in Edinburgh to Stu Allen, Joel Tangen, Rebecca, Mitch, J.L. Brady, Bertie, Sarah and several others, whilst Bez recorded video footage to assemble later. Was showcased in Glasgow for Bowser, Brian, Vince, Mark McKinnon of ever-increasing Wreck and Ruin fame, Danny, Lynn and Kerry. Was showcased at the Library Pot, a charming board game cafe in Richmond with a great big ball pit. Aircon 4, another great, wonderful convention for the folks who brought you Aircon 3 and Compulsion, a lovely convention in Edinburgh where Bez was delighted and surprised to be invited as a guest, was admired for the potential mass market appeal at a toy industry event run by Playtime PR, had more suggestions for new topics given at Drafts, a board game cafe in London during Draft's first public playtest events, was hauled to Cardiff when Bez attended the Rules of Play International Tabletop Day event when longer topics were experimented with and immediately found to be worth pursuing, whose provisional and ever-growing name was read out by Desperate Dave to his inscrutable flatmate, Mr. Wu, as part of a blether about Bez on the 46th day of lockdown in London as one of his Desperate Dave's distractions during the coronavirus crisis of 2020. Is it allowed to modify the game's name whilst reading it out? And will be kickstarted at some point in the future, hopefully resulting in an amusing game to make you laugh, titter, chuckle and guffaw. That is basically about allowing ladies, gentlemen and any who do not wish to be so defined to watch and listen to other folk prattling, babbling, jabbering, gibbering, going on and running on, rattling on, all away, yap, yap, yapping, chattering, pattering and just having a bit of a blether. And that, Mr. Wu, is the name of the game. Thank you, Bez.